All right. Welcome to the fifth episode of Power and Apps for Wednesday, Jan 9, 2018. Live from Tip City, Ohio. I'm Vivek Pavishi. It's almost been a month now since we last talked, but I guess the break was much needed. And joining us today is a special guest all the way from UK. Best described as a person who can start talking about Power Apps even in an Uber ride. Uh,
Yeah,
Keith Whatling. I hope I pronounced that right. So thanks for joining, Keith. How's it going?
yeah, it's my pleasure, man. It's not just Ubers as well; it's receptionists and just about everybody that I can get my hands on. So yeah, don't feel it's exclusively for Uber drivers.
All right. So we have a lot of ground to cover today, as there has been a bunch of updates from the Power Platform team. It's been hard to just keep a track on it. And Keith and I will just try our best to cover these things, and so that you can understand it better. So let's start off with some Power App stuff you should know, and then we'll talk about some Flow stuff as well. All right, so let me share my screen here. Uh, so the first thing, there's a new barcode scanner control. Just give me a second here. Um, so if you guys haven't played around with barcode scanner yet, and if you're waiting for some production version of it, it's there now available. You can basically uses your native barcode scanner in your phone, and it's pretty quick. I mean, if you have used your phone for barcode scanning anywhere else, it's the similar fashion. So, and there was one. Well, I had kept it open here. Let me see if I have that. So Hiro from our Japan team, he created a QR code scanner, and so the advantage is you don't need to specify which type of barcode. It just recognizes the type of barcode and just scans it. And if only I can pull that out here.
One
Um,
caveat with this is one of the sort of the limitations is that it doesn't work on a PC, so it only works on the phone at the moment.
oh yeah, that's right. Yep. So So if you can see this tweet by Hero, he's showing how he created a QR code first and then used a separate kind of app and just scanned the QR code with the Power App. So pretty slick, but yeah, still you can't use it on your browser. And I'm not sure. So what do you think would be the best way to use it on a browser then?
I don't think you're going to be able to yet. I mean, it's the old barcode scanner was kind of great for doing demos,
Mm-hmm.
but because you could do it all in the web app. But it's a major selling point because if you think about business apps, one of the key problems that businesses have is where are things in the real world? You know, how do I link this real world object to
Mm-hmm.
my digital space? And this kind of solves that. The old way of doing things was where you had to have that barcode of a very specific type. Whereas now you can pretty much rely on the product barcode that's already on something, if it's a
Yep.
QR code and things like that. So, yeah, I think it's incredibly powerful.
Mm-hmm.
When we looked at doing it, it was we were going to have to create all these additional barcodes in a specific type that we could only really get to work with Power Apps, and but now it's kind of like, yeah, whatever comes with it, just use that. So yeah, fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good point. I think it's definitely a much. I mean, you can definitely add a lot of. I would say it actually helps you in a lot of ways because you definitely have your products with barcodes, and there's a lot of stuff that you in a business organization probably have maybe some QR codes that you want to read easily in some ways. So yeah, this would be really helpful. Uh, So let's move on to our next item. And that's, sorry, I'm trying to see. Yeah, just a second. Oh, God. Where am I?
You sure you had a long enough
I
Christmas break,
had
mate?
my notes somewhere here, and I just lost it. So yeah, moving on to the next item. Keith, do you want to cover that?
Yeah. So yesterday, Daniel kept me up all night, which wasn't really fair. Uh, with solutions. Sorry, not solutions, components. That's how much sleep I've had. So I put together a solution. I'm not one of those Dynamics guys. This is purely in tribute to them. I've not been upgraded to a full Dynamic guy. So basically, components are kind of like a containerized version of the world. And unlike the advanced groups, have properties attached to them, and that seems to be what's really super powerful. So we've got a component here, and I've tried to follow some sort of coding standards. I've got the underscore one on the end, and I should slap myself. So you basically you enable it. What you have to have is you have to have a demo, a preview tenant, which means you have to set up. Preview environment, which means you have to set up an environment in the preview area, which is USA. So you need to have a spare slot available.
So Keith, yeah, I'm just going to quickly try to show
Yeah, do
that
you want
over
to show that?
here. Yeah, let me present here. Okay, so it stays here. Okay, so if you, whenever you, let me go to my web.powerapps. If you go to web.powerapps.com, once you log in, hopefully it does that quickly. If you go in the top right section, settings, admin center, it will take you to the screen where you can kind of create environments. So you'll be basically here, and then you can click on new environment, and the region you can select as preview United States. Environment type trial, just name an environment, and you'll have to click on join preview program and create environment. So that will create this preview environment for you. And then when you go back to this screen, you'll have a preview environment that you can select. So right now I am in my preview environment. And then did I create a new app? Or okay, I'll do that here. I'll click on creating a new app. Let's keep it tablet phone. And once you go there, you should be able to change in the app settings if you want to use the components. Let this load and we'll be able to show you quickly.
But bear in mind, guys, no CDS with these preview environments just yet. There's no facility for any CDS shenanigans.
Yep, that's right. So if you go to File, App Settings, Advanced Settings, in the bottom, there's a Components under Experimental Features. Turn it on. Go back. And when you click on Insert, you should have over here the rightmost to add a component. So when I click on New Component, what it does is it shows this component basically, and it's the default size is set to 640 height and width. You can change that, and if you come to the left side of the screen over here, there's a screens option and there's a components option. So once you create a component, which Keith will be talking in detail about, and I guess you can then I thought it inserted it automatically. Did I miss out something over here? Do I need to save it?
doesn't insert it automatically. You've got to then go on the
Okay, so I
action
need to go back here and then, okay, yeah, component one. Yep, that's right. So yeah, it creates a component. So Keith, if you want to take you should just want to just show your stuff on components.
Yeah. So inside the component, so you kind of have screens and components. So I've sized this component to be the width of the app. So I do all of that on this top level component object. And you can see that there's under data tab in the advanced, let's face it, that's where we all live in advanced. It's some weird things, primary color, secondary color, and some strange looking properties. Now, those properties are created from this properties tab here, and they are custom properties for the top level object. So these will be properties that will be exposed to the component within the app. So if I come into the app and I click on the component that we've made, you can see under that there's some primary color, secondary color, and these are actually you kind of set the type of them, and it gives you a color picker. Like, so this isn't just like some, you know, weird obscure bit of code that you're going to put in. And these are sort of like highly functional because they've used proper types. So if we come to advanced, you can see that we've got some values in there for primary color, secondary color, and a variable that we're going to feed into the component, which is called show menu, set by this button in the middle of the screen here, just an update context boolean switch. So inside the component, what we've managed to do is I have done this already. Come to properties and hit a new custom property, right? So this is where you generate your property, and it's great because you've got a display name, which is what will be here. You've got the property name, which is what it's going to be in the app on the dot syntax, and then you've got, albeit one line for some god untoward reason rather than a scrolly box, a description where you can write what the thing is about. Then you've got these property types. So this is the type of the property in terms of input and output. And what input says it does is it takes a value from outside of the app and exposes it inside of the component. So outside of this component, in the app itself, we're going to feed something into the component that's then going to be available for the component to use. And then there's this other property called out, which is a type of property that can emit data or state from the component, which the app can use. Now, oddly enough, this is a little bit weird. So, so we'll get to that in a minute because the next bit is this data type. And from data type, you've got all these wonderful things down here. So you can even have like screen, record, table, images, video, audio, color picker. I can't see that one down the bottom because currency, that's it. Text, number, boolean, all those great stuff. And that's going to appear in the app like your controls do. So like all this kind of wonderful, rich content down the side here. But it's also going to be, you'll be able to use them in detail in the advanced panel. So what does it do? Right. So I've managed to set, which is brilliant, the primary color and the secondary color for this component from outside of the component. So there are a number of things inside the component that are referring to the properties, i.e. inside the component, this black background is the color's been set for properties here from the top level command bar property. Now I've put some default properties in here, which is black for the background and white for the secondary color, and I've referenced them on this rectangle. So they get fill is whatever the name of the component and the property is, and then when we're in the screen and we pass that in, it updates it. Now I don't need to tell you guys, if you've built an app before, how important that is, that you've got something repeatable that you can change the color on, because formatting things in PowerApps can be an absolute nightmare, especially if you want to be crazy with the colors and all that kind of stuff. So that is a massive time saver. Build it once, deploy many times. So just absolutely amazing. The thing that I'm struggling with a little bit is the in and out version, and I'm sure as time goes by, this will rapidly come to light. So I've got a button here that's going to set that property to show the sub menu, and I've got some toggles inside here which seem to be outputting stuff. So at the moment, this is set to the out variable, and so is a hidden button as well, so we can see what state of the variable is that this is exposing. When I click on this button here, this button is just simply an update context, show menu, and we're feeding that into the app, into the component here. So when I click on the button, the sub menu appears, right? So dead straightforward. However, what's weird is that this is referring to the out show sub menu thing, and inside the component, it's referring to nothing. So it's a bit crazy. Not quite figured it out yet, but it's a work in progress. So bear with us. And as soon as we've worked it out, I'll do a video on it in depth. But suffice to say, absolutely amazing in terms of components and how easy it is to recolor things, and that's just like the number one thing that takes me time. So yeah, it's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, I think that this is definitely something that all of us need to explore more and try to come up with some more videos. And I know a lot of us will be, because everybody got super excited as soon as Daniel started tweeting about it. The other thing I think, so the way we can use this is probably using kind of exporting and importing it. Do you think that's the way it's going to be used across apps?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of when you work for one or two clients, or you've got many apps being built for one client, or in my business, one style that I want to translate across many apps.
Yeah,
and it's just going to be such a time saver, especially in terms of giving app builders some tooling.
Yeah,
massively important.
Yeah. All right. I know people will have a lot of things that they would like to discuss about components, and probably we'll try to include some more content on that. But let's move on to the next item, and that's the Power App. So recently, let me show this. So there was a standards and coding standards and guidelines document that was published, and this was, I think, December 19. And one of my friends, Todd Beginski, worked on it along with Pat Dunn, and what they had tried to define is kind of a white paper with some coding and standards and guidelines. I know this sounds too much of a kind of a software developer thing, but when I read through it, it definitely gives you kind of a best practice that you need to follow when you're trying to define, I don't know, the names of the controls, the way you have your screens, screen names defined, all that stuff. It's definitely helpful to just browse through this. I know it's not a huge document. You can definitely browse through it. And if you are watching this video, you probably are gonna spend some time just browsing through it. So it definitely helps you, gives you some more details about what kind of, like, you should be commenting stuff. And this all is something that, like, software developers generally follow, I would say, because when you want to pass on something to somebody, like maybe you leave the company after 6 months of developing some amazing Power Apps, and you jump onto something else, but you want to keep that going. And this really helps, like all these standards and guidelines would really help you in kind of keep it going ahead. What do you think about it, Keith?
I was a technical consultant on it.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna mention it. Yeah, you were a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, let's say I think Todd did the initial paper on it, and I'd already started to go back. It was so important and it was so good that I took it and I went back over my apps that I'd already built, and I'd spent a day updating all of the as many of the names of things as I could, because and the structures of it, and following the guidelines that Todd had laid out. It takes a bit of practice getting the length of the names of things right. Not putting too much detail in, but putting enough detail in, especially the names of your objects and your buttons and things and controls. But the whole global local variable thing is brilliant. I mean, I'd sort of done that already, but having something that's consistent to follow across everywhere just makes it so much easier to read. I mean, that's why Python's so successful, because they've got a very, very stringent formatting regime in there. And I think that coding guideline is going to be a real jumping off point for a lot of PowerApps people who are getting a taste for coding, having probably never done it before, or coming from Excel, or maybe looked at something before, and that's going to be a real catalyst to get them into the next level. Maybe picking up JavaScript or picking up Ruby or something that's a bit more traditional developing. So I think it's fantastic, and it's really well written as well. So well done to Pat and Todd. And one thing you should know, as far as I'm aware, this is how they're writing apps at Microsoft. So when we start to see the new templates coming out, they should be written in this format, which will just be fantastic.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep. Definitely something you should definitely check it out. And Brian on the chat shared the link for it as well. I'll be posting the show notes with all the links, everything that we discussed today. So if you miss out on any of this, you can definitely go back, check the show notes, and you can access this. And I saw John Levick also has joined us on the chat. So we'll not talk about Power Apps anymore. We'll start talking about Flow now. So moving on, there were a bunch of updates that were announced for Microsoft. For Flow as well in December. We'll try to cover some of these things, and maybe then next call we probably have some demos on flows, so that we just talk about Power Apps. I know we talk about Power Apps a lot, but this is one thing which I keep repeating to everyone whom I meet. Whenever I talk Power Apps, Flow is just included by default for me. My Power Apps won't work without flows, because I always have something connected in a flow, and each of my production Power App that we use in our company has some flow associated with it. So yeah, let's jump on to the December updates from Microsoft Flow. One of the updates was you can, if you have used this manually triggering a flow, these are basically kind of buttons that you can use in your phone, and just click on something and it will trigger a flow. So there are different ways to kind of capture input. So it's just not touch, but if you want to get like a text field, that was already there, but there's also a yes no field. There's a file option, so you can attach something. There's email, number, date. All these input options are now available. This is really helpful where you just don't want something to be triggered, but you want some input like a file or an email address to maybe just send. If you want to send a document or something, you have set up a flow like that, and you have set it up as to capture an email address. You can enter the email address, and because it's an email input, it will check whether it's an email or not, and then you can send it. So definitely this is really helpful where you want to have different types of input, and you should definitely check it out.
I've been using it for testing. So before, for example, if I had like
Power Apps trigger,
some sort of, Yeah, perhaps
Yeah.
trigger, or I wanted to do like something with it. But now I've got date types and emails and file types. It means I can better test stuff like against the SharePoint list. Say I don't want to go and modify that SharePoint list every time I want the flow to trigger, like, and I've not
Mm-hmm.
got any data and all that kind of stuff in there.
Yep.
And I just want to play around in flow without doing all the work.
Mm-hmm.
This is great. This is great, especially for exploring some of the for exploring expressions and all that kind of stuff. You know,
Yeah.
it's fantastic, really good.
Yep. And also you can set it up, like you can make some fields required, or you can make some fields optional. So that's also an option now in this, which was not there initially. So yeah, another good feature added. Um, let's see what else. So this was another thing which I don't know if it annoys to if it's something that annoys people. Reduce noise of failure notifications. So I think there's an option now to clear off all the notifications. Uh, so if if that red kind of mark always annoyed you a lot, you could probably kind of clear it out once you have uh, edited your flow or something like that. So nice feature to have. It does annoy me sometimes, so this would be really helpful. Uh, the next thing was to if you have any errors in when you're creating a flow and you when you run a flow, there you encounter an error. There was generally just a generic kind of support kind of link or something like that, but now they are uh, try to help you there and then itself by not sending you out to some link, but try to kind of create like a FAQs within a support request if you need to enter. So you can select your problem type, your category, and then it will show you some recommended solutions. It not only takes it from their kind of list, but also from the community forums. So that's also a good thing because I mean, when I started off with Power Apps, most of the things that I wanted to kind of learn, and that time we didn't have Shane Young's videos. Uh, I just went to the community forum and searched for things, and I found out solutions to a bunch of my issues. So having it readily available here is definitely much helpful, uh, and I hope you kind of use this feature. Keith, have you kind of encountered this anytime? Kind of having some errors and flows?
I have to say, and without sounding too sucky, I haven't had any problems with flow. It's yeah, everything I've done with it's been simple enough to get through it without a problem. But we've
Yeah.
done loads of stuff with it, and I've it's to me it's just like background processing, man. It's like I
Mm-hmm.
can't do without it. It's what switched on when my app is switched off. So that's how I frame it. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't need a support function because I don't need support for it because it all works.
Yeah, I think I mostly encountered when I was working with APIs because sometimes I didn't define the call properly, or some issue was there in defining the expressions because I was trying to extract something from an expression and I have some issues with that. So mostly I've got the logic expressions kind of link. Go to this link and try to solve it. So this would be, I mean, that was just one scenario where I found some issues, but yeah, otherwise.
No, it made it
Yeah.
a lot easier, man. As far
Yeah.
as you know, it just seems all the work everyone's done. But
Yeah.
this web API thing looks really exciting. So just thinking it from the whole Microsoft Graph perspective,
Mm-hmm.
rolling out stuff across a tenant and being able to control things through teams and just having a set of flows that are automatically set up for XYZ scenario in a business. I mean, look, IT departments all over the world are scratching their heads because Microsoft's gone from dumping products on them once every 3 years to constantly reinvent themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
these IT guys are like, oh my God, yeah, I've got so much to learn, so much to do. And they're kind of running around and there's all this cool stuff happening. And this is just going to be such a help to them to help, realize the dream that you just click a few buttons and write a couple of API calls, and the damn thing just goes and builds stuff for you. I mean, how damn cool is that? It's just amazing.
Yep.
I'm not worried about the 8 new connectors because they're all boring, but you can talk about it because I'm not using any of them.
I'm just gonna list. I'm just gonna show that there are 8 new connectors. I guess WebEx is something that I don't know if people are using that. Maybe this is something that you want to explore. I don't know about the other ones, but yeah, if this is something that you guys are using and you want to explore, this is added to it now. So you
I
won't go
think
into
there's
the
a bit
details
around
about
that.
that.
I think there's a bit around that advanced threat protection that that probably a lot of people in the legal industry and where they've got that E3 E5 thing turned on,
Yep.
there'll be some eyebrows raised at that as to what that can do for them. Big time. And the candidate zip looks really impressive as well. Just knowing, I mean, I was talking with some people over Christmas, and someone who's completely tech unsavvy and can't set up his Bluetooth speaker and all that sort of stuff. It's me who does it because that's my job in my family. He's got a business and he says, yeah, my daughter came in and she just sets up this. She uses that Flow thing that you've been talking about, and yeah, it's brilliant. And I was just like, wow, even he knew about it, and he knows nothing about computers and technology and SharePoint and all that kind of stuff. He just expects it to work. So yeah, it's great stuff, man.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
All right. I mean, I'm just trying to look through the chat if there was something that people wanted to talk about. There was a bunch of people today and a lot of chat going on. I think this is the most busiest, I think, any of the Power and Apps chat window has been. So let's see. I think mostly comments about different stuff. But yeah, if you have any questions or comments, even after this call, please go to the comment section and just add it, or tweet any of us. And I mean, if you tweet at the rate, I mean, anyone, I guess it reaches everyone. It's like a Twitter bubble of Power Apps and Flow. So definitely reach out to us if you need any help on anything. And if you, I mean, if you wanted to get these updates on if you have bought an Echo device on your recently because of the sales and the holidays, and you want to listen to Power Apps and Flow updates, you can go to these. I've created skills for this Alexa skills, so you can just enable it. I'll link the skill links in the show notes as well. So you can just enable those and listen to Power Apps and Flow News just by asking your device. So I know Anton has been using it quite a bit. He mentioned about it in our the community awards call. So he definitely helped him a lot. So if you also want to try it out, just go to these links and enable it. All right. Thank you, Keith, for joining us. Let people know how they can follow you.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter as at Keith Whatling with the H. I'm on LinkedIn as me as well, and I'm on YouTube trying to make some videos as the Power Appster. So I've got 3 on there at the moment. Hopefully there'll be some more this year. Definitely be one on components, and when I figure out solutions as well, there'll be one on that. So yeah, you can come and follow me. And if you're in the UK and you can come along tomorrow night to the Nottingham UK user group, do that. And then we've got one on the 7th with I believe the main man himself, the head honcho, the big boy, Miss Levesque. So that is going to be another level. I can't wait. It's going to be the highlight of my year, man. So I might steal his passport so he can't go back to the US, and we'll just keep him here in the UK and just feed off his energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be cool.
Cool.
Thanks for having me, Vivek.
Yep. Thank you for joining. And if you want more of us, you can definitely come back again tomorrow. So Keith, we're just keeping him busy, not letting him sleep. He's going to be with us again tomorrow after the user group meeting on the Power Addicts call, and that's at 5 p.m. Eastern time. I can't recall the time zones of others, but we had definitely tweeted about it. So
10 o'clock, man. 10 o'clock
10
GMT.
o'clock, and I can't recall the Japan time. I think it's 7 a.m. Japan, I guess.
Yeah.
7 or 8 a.m. One of
Poor
those.
old hero, man.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us. If you want more content, definitely go to my YouTube channel or follow me on Twitter at that_API_guy. We'll see you next week. Till then, keep power apping and enjoy some flow as well. See you next week.